Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Real News. Today, we're going to be doing what I'm calling an activist update. That's what we're doing today. We're going to be breaking down some ways that we talked about it this morning that you can amplify your voice. And here to help me do that is, you know him, you love him, Mr. Henry. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Now, it was just morning a few minutes ago, a few hours ago when we were talking to everyone. And you remember, Shine, during that broadcast, you and I both said, stay tuned because while we do these morning updates that are substantive information, we're also going to have several updates that are specifically tailored to giving everyone an ability to actually take action, to do something about it, to get involved in the fight where you're at, right? I think everyone
Exactly.
remembers me saying that. We have three different things, two different things we want to go over, a quick overview, and then I'll break each one of these down individually. We obviously want to start by thanking Governor Lee, and this stuff is huge, y'all. I'm telling you. Being up at that legislature, I can tell you people hate to hear from their constituents when they don't like something, but they rarely ever hear from their constituents when they're doing something right. And that encouragement is monumental in a time like right now. If you appreciate what Governor Lee says, we're going to break this down for the telemedicine expansion. Actually, Shyne posted this on the Real News channel. Actually, I can show you what this looks like. Let me share my screen here
Yeah,
real
I was
quick
just
if it
about to
goes to it.
say, hey, let's tell them where it's at first. Let's tell
Hmm.
them what this process is like. Then we'll get into the meat of it. But
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
here's on the Real News page right here where Grant's scrolling.
Right. So the first thing you're going to come to is up here. Real News is you'll start up here. Scroll down until you see this big green background of Governor Lee's face on our right-hand side here. Now, if you click on this, it will open it up. Go right to on the right-hand side here, posted by our State Director Tori Venable. It'll go right to the petition to sign and thank Governor Lee for expanded access to health care. Fairly simple process here. You can read what it says. If not, I'll read for you if you're just listening in. It says, thank you for improving healthcare access through telemedicine, suspending regulations, and extending full practice authority to healthcare providers. More on that in particular, what they mean in just a second. This goes on to say your decision to increase healthcare providers' ability to give care is a great step towards reducing the spread of COVID-19 and helping patients get the attention and healthcare they need. Thank you for pushing back against mandatory business closures. Now is not the time for more government mandates. We urge you to continue reducing regulations, cutting the red tape, and allowing businesses and communities to do what they do best, innovate and meet the needs of Tennesseans. Fill out some basic information. This letter will go directly to the governor of our great state of Tennessee, and I can guarantee you this support right now, this encouragement that he can get from that, the activist base that we can swell to send this support out there is going to be huge. Am I wrong, David?
Oh no, it's great, and these are we talked about this a lot this morning, and honestly, we dropped the ball. This was available, and we didn't know about it. But we talked about this a lot this morning, where there's two kinds of responses that are competing in the United States, and we have our laboratory of states where there's different perspectives and things do people do them differently. But the idea in the state of Tennessee is let individuals and companies innovate in order to meet the need that we have right now, as opposed to the people calling for in other states demanding that the government take over production, delivery, payment for employment, and things like that. So I like the direction, and obviously we're highlighting it because it's not the it's not it's kind of unfair to say this is a free market approach. It's a market approach, and it's an individual. It's putting the responsibility on the individual, whether you're an individual who
Yeah.
owns a business or a person. I mean, we're talking about these people who are making respirators,
Mm.
that are, and stuff like that. We were talking about that this morning. People are innovating on their own personally, and this sets people free to do that. You know.
And let me give you a quick breakdown as to what is in this executive order and why we're thanking Governor Lee for it. And it's exactly what you just said there, Sean. It's the times that are being called for right now for the most immediacy, right? For the urgency of this action, which oddly enough leads us into our next one we're going to talk about in a minute. Urgency of action is one of the themes of this show today. Here's some of the stuff that this executive order does and why we're thanking him, right? So it allows licensed healthcare professionals to practice across state lines, right? Breaking down those barriers and moving across state lines to help people where they need the help the most. In Tennessee, y'all, we're one of the worst in the state. We're one of the worst in the nation right now for the spread of this virus. Pharmacists can dispense up to a 90-day supply of maintenance prescriptions. Let's see, healthcare providers can treat people in temporary residences. Talking nurse practitioners. Nurse practitioners can have their full practice authority to treat people without additional barriers or reporting regulation requirements. Physician assistants can use their full practice authority to treat people without the additional barriers, right? Licenses for healthcare professionals that are set to expire in the next 3 months, those are automatically expended. We have process for prescriptions at alternative locations. It allow medical lab techs to test for COVID-19 without a license, right? So completely cutting out their bureaucracy. You don't need a license to test for it if it's a pretty simple process. Certificate of need requirements are suspended. We went into full detail with Charlie, our healthcare analyst, last Saturday as to why that's a great thing. That they don't have to go through those layers of proving why you need to be there. Allows for testing of COVID-19 at alternative sites. Construction of temporary structures. Prohibits price gouging. It suspends height, length, and width limitations for vehicles that would respond to this, temporary exceptions for federal rules and regulations. I mean, that's just half of the list right now that's going on. You're talking about driver's license set to expire, that'll be expended. Vehicle registration that's set to expire, that's going to be extended all for until the middle of June now. Handgun carry permits, that's going to be extended now. As far as the healthcare pertains, thank Governor Lee for this healthcare stuff. An immediate action to getting this out in the free market is exactly what we need right now. And that's why I think signing this petition, again, let me just walk this one more time with them, Shyne, so they can see where to go. This is what it looks like on our Facebook page, Real News Facebook page. To tune in right now. Scroll right down just a couple drops below where we are currently. Click on Governor Lee's face here. Click on that one. Immediately takes you to sign it. I guarantee he'd love to hear from you.
And most of you have done this with us before, so you might automatically be logged in. All you have to do is press one button. So I encourage you, if you haven't done it before, make a login on that eyeball page. So when Grant and I bring these things to you,
Yeah.
that you're ready to go. And I think it's really we. This is a principle that Mr. Henry and I have talked about for a long time. When folks in government do things that you like or you think are good, whether you
Mm,
like them or not, it's great to praise them for it because you want them to do more of it, right? Just like people say
right.
with kids, you positive reinforcement works. So like, if we want to continue to be led with kind of a free market, individual focused response from our state where it's you go out there and innovate as a company, as an individual, or a freedom of association, churches, able to feed people and stuff like that. Do whatever you can do. I like that approach better than we're going to nationalize everything. We're going to take control of the means of production. We're going to take control of the means of delivery and employment and everything else. And I like that that's where we're looking at being in the state of Tennessee.
And let me re-stress one of the things that you just touched on there, Shyne. That idea that I think people see in this day and age a lot of petitions that circulate around, right? And they're not really sure if it ever does anything, right? So you go online and you click this, and in this day and age of virtue signaling, how much am I really getting my message across? I cannot stress this enough to y'all. Some of these online petitions, especially, I'm slightly biased here, but take my word for it, especially given the massive infrastructure capacity that America's for Prosperity behind it, the message that this delivers to your leaders immediately through their pipeline, cutting through all the people that you would have to talk to otherwise, it makes an outrageous amount of impact, right? It's one thing if you're sitting there calling your legislator saying, I don't support something. It's another thing entirely if you're saying, I support something, especially in these times where he needs that encouragement. But I'm telling you, if you think about yourself, if you're watching this team right now, for every person you know that's into politics, that's never actually called a legislator before or signed a petition or tried to make action or movement on anything or come to the Hill to actually talk to a legislator face to face, nobody does that. Nobody gets involved, right? So for every one person that does do that, the usual equivalent trade-off is there's a sizable portion of the population that feels that same way that's just not telling me. You get what I'm saying, Sean? So if I hear from one person as a legislator, I'm thinking, oh man, now if I hear from two people, three, 10, if I hear from 20 people, that's a pretty good indication that there's a strong consensus about what this felt, at least as far as it pertains to this aspect of my constituent base. Do you get what I'm saying? Whether it's positive or negative, right?
Absolutely. And hey, we've had some people just joining us. If you're just joining us, we're talking about a petition to thank Governor Lee. We're also talking about what we're thanking him for releasing the free market as it relates to healthcare. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about a post here that's on the Real News page asking you to thank Governor Lee because we want. I mean, you're going to be hearing the debate. People are starting to pay attention. They're getting out of being in cloister mode and whatever, and you're starting to pay attention. You need to be because governors and not really as much state legislatures at the moment, but governors and then your federal legislatures right now are making major decisions about your life, and we
Yeah.
want to encourage them to at least have a bias towards freedom, because
Mm.
obviously we have to restrict our movement and um, not be a danger to others and things like that. But we don't want to give away any more freedoms than necessary, and we also want that approach of releasing the free market, releasing the individual to say, hey, we're all in this together, and we all have a responsibility. Like the government has a responsibility to take care of us all, but we all have a responsibility to take care of each other and not rely solely on the government. And we want that message sent from the top, because it matters more when it's sent from the
Mm.
top. It'd be one thing if me and Mr. Henry were just like, it'd be a lot better if people could make their own respirators. We talked about this morning MIT releasing the open source plans for respirators, right? And people figuring out ways to make respirators at home either by 3D printing or otherwise. But it's all very good. I love the approach. I hope that things can stay a way they are, or stay in a way in Tennessee where that continues to be the approach.
And and actually, man, the approach we were taking this morning too, in this same vein of understanding, we just went over what Executive Order 15 from Governor Lee here in the state of Tennessee does to open up the free market to healthcare exchange, right? But we also talked this morning about at the federal level now, we're talking at a national level top down. We talked about the stall that's been going on in the Senate for this relief package and some of the proposals that Nancy Pelosi and Shyne and I were right. Like it's not fantastic from either side here. One's obviously better than the other. But some of the stuff that Nancy Pelosi was throwing out there from a Breitbart headline that I'm looking at, over 1,400 pages of coronavirus bill stuffed with special interest goodies, right? We went over this a little bit this morning, talking increased fuel emission standards for airlines receiving funds on carbon emission payoffs, payment for student loans, same-day voter registration, early voting, voting by mail, ballot harvesting. I mean, requirements for federal and corporate gender and racial diversity training. I mean, it just the list goes on of stuff that's entirely unrelated to a relief package. In that vein, then, we also have another way for you guys to take action, to send a message directly to y'all's legislators. And hear what I'm saying when I'm talking about this, okay? The way that these petitions act in how we do them is if you go in here, and I'll actually show this right now, all right? If you want to contact your legislator and support what's going on, to support the bill that's in the Senate right now, support the bill that Shyne and I spoke to everyone about a week ago, that was urging fiscal conservatism, that was urging supplying just for this coronavirus right now, not having government overreach, not giving the federal government more power than they need, not spending more money than we need right now, but just taking a look at the short, immediate need for this money. If you support that and you want to get that message to your senator, again, here's our Facebook page right underneath this video that's streaming live currently. Go down, find this one here, support the coronavirus aid, click on it. Let me explain what this does here, okay? Now, when it says Dear Senator, the way I understand this operates is it captures your information, finds your national senator, sends it directly to that individual, all right? So it's a direct touch to your senator, right? To your person that's representing, to the people that are your constituents. And we have a lot of these. The reason why I stress that way is we have a lot of these that are specific to House reps as well. We have a lot of these that are specific to smaller demographics as well. But we could break these down in a particular way. If you want to talk directly to the senators in this state, read this here. On behalf of America's Prosperity's activists, we urge you to support the cloture motion and vote on this thing. Get this drafted out. Give us the relief that we need and stop the spread of this virus, right?
Absolutely. I'm so glad. How great is it that there is a place where you can use freedom of association to have a voice right now? Because it's very difficult, right? It's very difficult to have a voice right now. Your state legislatures aren't even in session. It's your House reps are not able to do town halls like they would be doing during an election year. Um, there's lots of barriers to communication and getting your voice out there for this legislation in particular. But there is an organization that is looking out and trying to amplify our voices through freedom of association. I think it's great. I know I sound like a homer, but we can take this time to do a little commercial too. Like me and Grant are really thankful to have employment right now, and like this is
Mm-hmm.
our employer, and we work for. You've been following this page for years. A lot of you are anniversary. 3-year followers, 2-year followers. You know where we're coming from. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't believe in them. And we encourage you, though, to read the eyeball. We encourage you to watch the debate going on in Senate
Mm-hmm.
right now. I mean, it's streaming right now. I almost was streaming it, but I thought this time that we could show you a way you could take action is more important than just watching the stream. But I encourage you, if you just go on YouTube and search Senate Live, it'll pop up and you can watch the debate. And I encourage you, if you see something you don't like, pick up the phone and call your senator or House member, because anything the Senate's doing right now, it's in the Senate, and then it's got to be reconciled with the House. So if even if you see something that you don't like a senator saying, you can tell your House member because it matters, because they'll be part of the
Right.
conversation. But this is a way where your voice can be amplified, even bigger than that, and be a part of a bunch of people saying, "Hey, out of all the options, this is the least crappy," because we're in a bad situation. Let's be real about it. There's no
Oh
good
yeah.
options. But a lot of the stuff that I've heard, and I'm going to stay on this, and me and Mr. Henry are both going to stay on it, about the Democratic, what's being put from the Democrats in the House, Nancy Pelosi's bill. It just sounds like she wants to create a permanent underclass. I mean, it's stuff
Mm.
that will not lend itself to restarting the economy when this is over. But I don't want to make too many claims because I want to be able to back it up with citing things and stuff like that. And maybe we could even get someone to talk about the negatives. Me and Mr. Henry might be able to work on that between now and tomorrow, assuming it hasn't already been voted on and rushed through the way a lot of things are. But this is bigger than I said it this morning. This is bigger than the Patriot Act and the 2008 or 2009 bailout, all wrapped together. We're going to spend a year's worth of GDP or maybe 2 years worth of GDP in a day, and you want to pay attention and be a part of that conversation. We're giving you ways to do it. Grant, let's show them that link one more time. I
Yeah,
know I
exactly.
know
I was
it's
going to go
feeling
through
kind
that.
of telethon-y, but I know people are going to pick this up at different points too.
Well, no, exactly. And you see, here's the thing, Sean. I hope our audience, knows us both well enough to know that we don't push something unless we believe it, right? And part of the reason why we work for this organization that we do now is because it gives Sean and I. Look, Sean and I are doing this right now this is our job. Literally, what we're doing right now on this broadcast for the Real News audience is what we get paid for. It's the same thing we used to do back in the day. We just so happen to be able to pair it with this crazy huge infrastructure to affect change, right? It's the best of all worlds that we've ever had. So when I say I believe in something like this, right, when I can go and show y'all to hit this Facebook screen, scroll down, it's right above the Governor Lee link. When I can show y'all to hit this link, and when I can tell you directly, it cuts through all that nonsense of going through some legislative liaison or some legislative assistant's email chain and going directly to these individuals, directly to their offices, right? A lot of these petitions you sign, the information is going to be gathered, and it's just waiting on somebody else to bring that petition information forward later on.
Hey,
Right? We're
Miss.
signing this directly, dear senators,
Oh yeah, yeah. Go ahead
on
and read
behalf of
it.
such.
Yeah, read it. Read it the whole thing.
Yeah,
I was just going to tell you to read it. Thank you. Sorry.
yeah. Dear senators, on behalf of Americans for Prosperity activists around the country, I urge you to support cloture in the motion to proceed on H.R. 748, legislation crafted to provide relief to those affected by the spread of and containment measures associated with COVID-19 virus. The vote may be recorded in our 2020 session legislative scorecard, meaning AFP is going to track how these legislators vote on that and score them on it later on. Going on, it says, while reasonable people may have differing viewpoints on some of the elements of this underlying legislation, very true, we believe it's unacceptable to subject this package to, quote, death by delay, given the urgency of the current public health emergency, which is inflicting damage on the well being and livelihood of American workers, families, and small businesses with each passing day. We've encouraged Congress to take deliberate steps to provide relief that are timely, targeted, and temporary. If open-ended debate on this legislation continues indefinitely, the threat of special interest long rolling grows. Right? This will result in a less targeted package, an unacceptable delay in the enactment of those badly needed and beneficial elements of what this underlying bill contains. And let me just show one more thing here, Shine, too.
Sure.
If that's not enough information for people, I just posted this up here as well. You can see this later on. It's right under where our president for America's Prosperity is actually holding a town hall tonight. You see this call-in number right here. It starts at 7 o'clock Eastern. If you want to know the approach that we're taking, if you want to know the perspective that we're having, if you want to know what I believe to be the limited government version of what this should be, this number 855-436-3665. This town hall starts at 7:10 Eastern time. Join us out here tonight to hear the President Tim Phillips talk more on this very issue.
Oh man, and I forgot we just now mentioned that. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more. So tonight, what time is that? And I guess we'll do some live programming here on the air. Are we going to do commentary afterwards? I think we should, maybe, if you want. putting
Yeah, we
putting
could
Mr.
stream
Henry
it. You may want to throw the stream.
Go ahead.
No, you're breaking up a little bit in the background again. I think my internet feed I need to figure out, but everyone's stuck at home right now, so it is what it is. But I think we could stream it. We probably will stream it on the Facebook channel. As far as live commentary, I may be say caught up in a different activity at that
I
particular
see.
point. But I will say. Our president Tim Phillips is well versed in this stuff. I'm assuming he's going to have several other experts on the horn with him. And the whole idea is to discuss how politicians in Washington they're basically putting. We talked about this some this morning, buddy, about how they're putting politics over people right now. How they're holding up necessary legislation through nonsensical debate, like this Trump derangement syndrome, or whether it's just Republican versus Democrat, or whether there's some weird like rules of war or rules of engagement you have to abide by where you can't have a bipartisan effort right now. That's all holding this stuff up. So Tim Phillips is actually going to be addressing that, drawing more attention to this petition that we can have signed. And those petitions, they move, y'all. It's like gold up there. I promise you, it's like gold in these legislatures. If you can walk into a person's office and say, here's fill in the blank of number of individuals that are your constituents that want you to do something on this right now, right? They're fighting. They want to get reelected. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah, well, and they probably got friends too. They're probably bailing out buddies. I mean, that's at least been the accusation is as this goes on.
Mm.
It's and maybe even their own portfolios. I don't want to point too many fingers or anything like that, but I agree with the eyeball that the longer this goes on, the worse it is for the taxpayer. Mostly because every special interest group is asking for a handout right now, and I think we should figure out what we need, do it now. If we need to do something more tomorrow, we do it then. But trying to, I don't know. I don't like what's going on. I do like that Americans for Prosperity is trying to amplify the voices of Americans, and I'm glad that we can be a part of that. One more plug, and it might be good to pull up, Grant, is the Americans for Prosperity Tennessee Facebook page. Um,
Okay.
I'm serious. You can get all your up to date news about what's going on your news channels, but two great channels to keep an eye on for stuff they're not going to tell you about in the news that's going on with either your state legislature here in the state of Tennessee or what's going on up in national, up in with the federal government. That's AFP Tennessee or and Real News is the stuff you got to be looking at because we're going to give you the resources to amplify your voice. And I'm telling you right now, this is a time where you don't want to minimize voice because we're making bigger decisions than post 9/11. We're making bigger decisions than post the economic drop of 2008. It's a very interesting time. But Grant, you got it pulled up right there, the Americans for Prosperity
Yeah, yeah.
Tennessee page.
I I paused on this screen right here because if you type in Americans of Prosperity hyphen Tennessee, you're going to get two sort of weirder things. Obviously, the one you want to follow is the one with the more followers, the legitimate one up here with the 18,000 plus followers. And this is where we have a lot of support going. I mean, there's a lot of stuff posted here. Governor Lee's thing is posted here. Well, here's a YouTube clip of the town hall that Tim Phillips did the other night, the one that we were streaming on Real News. You can actually check out the version of the interview that we did with Charlie from let's see, from Saturday.
Hmm.
Yeah, our healthcare guy. All kind of great information there, and it's my personal page. I clicked on my name, but all kind of great information there on the Americans for Prosperity Tennessee page. Go give us a follow there. We're gonna be reposting a lot of stuff, and you'll be able to catch up with a lot of these ways to take action. Again, one more time, let me stress this, Shyne. The amount that Shyne and I believe in the ability to take action through this company, to do the right things, to fight for liberty causes through our champions, we can do it. There's ways to make it happen. We're giving you the tools right now. I promise you this stuff actually works out there because I've seen it happen with my own two eyes at the state level. I've seen this stuff move and shake and shape bills in the state of Tennessee.
Absolutely, Grant. I got the music playing. I'm gonna go ahead and write us out here. Me and Mr. Henry got other stuff we got to do today, but we wanted to give you this update. I encourage you to check out your House and Senate members debating over the next couple days. Watch that, and then tonight I'm gonna try to get to stream Tim Phillips, Americans Prosperity President, here on this page, or at the very least post the link. But this has been Real News, and we'll see you probably tomorrow morning because we're going to be doing it every morning here, at least every weekday morning here on the Real News Facebook page. But thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Grant.